The rain had started before sunset. By midnight, it was falling so heavily that Sophia could barely see the iron gates in front of her. She stood outside the mansion with one suitcase beside her and both hands pressed protectively over her stomach. Her dress was soaked. Her hair clung to her face. The cold wind cut through her thin coat, but she hardly noticed it. All she could hear were Victoria's final words. Alexander has made his choice. He doesn't want you here when he returns. Sophia stared at the locked gates, waiting for someone to open them again. No one did. Only an hour earlier, this had been her home. Now the lights behind the mansion windows were going out one by one, as if the family inside had already forgotten she existed. Sophia reached into her handbag and took out her phone. She called Alexander once, twice, 5 times. Every call went directly to voicemail. Her fingers trembled as she recorded a message. Alexander, it's me. Your mother says you don't want me anymore. She says you know about the baby and that you think it belongs to someone else. Her voice broke. That isn't true. Please call me. Please come home and ask me yourself. Don't believe them without speaking to me. Sophia waited. No call came. She didn't know that Alexander's phone was locked inside a hotel safe, thousands of miles away. She didn't know that Victoria had contacted his assistant and falsely claimed Sophia had suffered a nervous breakdown. And she didn't know that every message she sent would be deleted before Alexander returned. All Sophia knew was that she was pregnant, alone and standing outside the home of the man who had promised never to abandon her. 4 years later, she would return, but she would not return alone. 4 years earlier, Sophia Bennett had never belonged in Alexander Whitmore's world. She had grown up in a small apartment above her father's old bookshop. Her mother had died when she was 13, and after her father became ill, Sophia spent most of her 20s caring for him while working part-time at a local library. She owned 3 good dresses. She repaired her shoes instead of replacing them. And when she was nervous, she twisted the silver ring her father had given her on her 18th birthday. Alexander noticed the habit the first time they met. He had entered the library on a stormy afternoon, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Sophia earned in 6 months. He wasn't looking for a novel. He was looking for silence. Alexander had just left another board meeting where his mother, Victoria Whitmore, had reminded him that the family company mattered more than his personal happiness. He walked between the shelves until he found Sophia kneeling on the floor, gathering books that had fallen from a damaged cart. Without asking, he crouched beside her and picked up a copy of Jane Eyre. You look too expensive to be working here, Sophia said before she could stop herself. Alexander looked down at his suit. You look too honest to be speaking to customers like that. She covered her mouth, horrified. Then he smiled. That smile changed both their lives. Alexander began visiting the library every Thursday. At first, he pretended to need book recommendations. Sophia quickly realized he rarely read the books he borrowed. You've renewed this one 3 times, she told him, holding up a history book. Have you even opened it? I opened it yesterday. And I read your note inside the cover. Sophia frowned. What note? The one reminding readers not to fold the pages. That doesn't count. Then I suppose I'll need another week. Soon Thursday visits became evening walks became dinners in small restaurants where Alexander was relieved no one recognized him. Sophia never asked about his wealth. She asked what frightened him, what made him feel alive, what he would choose if no one expected anything from him. No one had ever asked Alexander questions like that. With Sophia, he was not the heir to Whitmore International. He was simply a man who loved old jazz records, hated formal dinners, and secretly wanted to restore abandoned buildings instead of attending endless corporate meetings. One night, they sat on the roof above Sophia's father's bookshop, sharing cheap takeaway noodles under a string of fading lights. Alexander looked at her and said, I don't have to pretend when I'm with you. Sophia smiled. What do you pretend to be? Someone who never gets tired. She placed her hand over his. You're allowed to be tired with me. That was the moment Alexander knew he loved her. A marriage nobody wanted. When Alexander introduced Sophia to his family, Victoria's dislike was immediate. She greeted Sophia politely, but her eyes inspected everything. The simple dress, the inexpensive handbag, the worn edge of Sophia's shoes. Alexander's youngest sister, Claire, tried to make Sophia comfortable. Victoria did not. During dinner, she asked Sophia where she had studied, where her family came from, and what social circle she belonged to. Sophia answered honestly. Victoria smiled after each answer, but the smile never reached her eyes. Later, while Sophia was outside with Claire, Victoria cornered Alexander in the drawing room. She isn't suitable. Alexander's expression hardened. She isn't applying for a position. She will represent this family. She represents herself. Victoria lowered her voice. You are confusing kindness with compatibility. Women like Sophia are fascinated by men like you. You don't know her. I know exactly what she wants. Alexander stepped closer. She wants me, and I want her. Victoria had spent years controlling every part of Alexander's life: his education, his career, his friendships, and even the women she expected him to date. Sophia was the first choice he had made entirely for himself. That made her dangerous. Alexander proposed 6 months later in the closed library where they had met. He didn't rent a ballroom. He didn't hire photographers. He placed the ring inside the same copy of Jane Eyre he had repeatedly renewed. When Sophia opened the book, she found a handwritten note. You taught me that love is not a duty. It is a place where a person can finally rest. Please let me come home to you for the rest of my life. Sophia cried before she even saw the ring. Their wedding was small. Victoria attended, but she wore black. During the reception, she watched Alexander dance with Sophia as if she were watching someone steal the future she had designed for him. For the first year, Alexander and Sophia were happy. They moved into the east wing of the Whitmore estate while Alexander prepared to renovate a home of their own. Sophia tried to build a peaceful relationship with Victoria. She brought her tea, remembered her appointments, helped organize charity events. Victoria accepted every gesture without warmth. When Alexander was home, Victoria treated Sophia with controlled politeness. When he traveled, the mask slipped. You must find the estate overwhelming, Victoria once said as Sophia arranged flowers in the dining room. It took some getting used to. I imagine so. People raised without staff often mistake comfort for belonging. Sophia put down the flowers. I didn't marry Alexander for the house. Of course not. Victoria smiled. You married the man who owns it. Sophia told Alexander very little about those conversations. She knew he already carried the pressure of running the family business. She didn't want to become another battle he had to fight. And despite Victoria's cruelty, Sophia believed time would soften her. She was wrong. The pregnancy, Sophia discovered she was pregnant on a cold Monday morning. For several minutes, she simply sat on the bathroom floor, staring at the test in her hand. She and Alexander had spoken about children many times. He wanted a daughter. Sophia always laughed and asked how he could be so certain. Because she'll look like you, he would say. And she'll know how to defeat me before she learns to walk. Sophia planned to tell him that evening. She bought a small pair of white baby shoes and placed them in a gift box on his desk. But before Alexander came home, he called. A crisis had erupted at one of the company's overseas offices. He had to fly to Geneva that night. I'll be gone 10 days, he said, maybe less. Sophia looked at the gift box. I have something to tell you. Is it good? She smiled through her disappointment. Very good. Then save it for when I come home. I want to see your face when you tell me. Before leaving, Alexander held her near the front door. 10 days, he whispered. Come back in 9. He kissed her forehead. I'll try. Victoria watched from the staircase. The moment Alexander's car disappeared, she began putting her plan into motion. Victoria's first lie. 2 days later, Victoria entered Sophia's room holding an envelope. Inside were photographs of Alexander leaving a hotel with a woman. The images were real. The story behind them was not. The woman was a company lawyer working on the Geneva crisis. Victoria claimed she was Alexander's former fiancé. He has been seeing her for months, she said. Sophia studied the photographs. I don't believe you. You believe Alexander tells you everything? Yes. Victoria almost laughed. You have no idea what kind of pressure he is under. He married you during a rebellious phase. Now he is trying to repair the damage. Sophia placed the photographs back in the envelope. Leave. Victoria remained calm. I'm trying to spare you humiliation. No, you're trying to make me doubt my husband. Victoria's eyes lowered briefly toward Sophia's stomach. Sophia noticed. Her hand instinctively moved over her abdomen. The room became silent. You're pregnant, Victoria said. Sophia didn't answer. Victoria's face changed. For the first time, Sophia saw fear beneath the woman's composure. A child would make Sophia permanent. A child would bind Alexander to her in a way Victoria might never undo. That afternoon, Victoria called her private investigator. She needed more than photographs. She needed evidence Alexander would believe. Sophia's childhood friend, Danielle, had recently returned to the city. He had grown up near the bookshop and had helped Sophia care for her father. Their relationship had never been romantic, but Victoria didn't need the truth. She only needed appearances. Victoria arranged for Daniel to receive a call claiming Sophia had fainted at the estate. Concerned, he arrived immediately. Sophia was confused when the staff brought him to her room. Before she could explain anything, Victoria's photographer captured images through the open terrace doors. Daniel touching Sophia's shoulder, Daniel embracing her after learning about the pregnancy, Sophia crying because she felt overwhelmed and frightened. The photographs looked intimate. Victoria selected the most damaging ones and sent them to Alexander through a new number. The message read, "You deserve to know what your wife does while you are away. Ask her who the baby's father is." Alexander saw the pictures late that night in Geneva. He stared at them until the shapes blurred. He tried calling Sophia. The call failed. He called again. No answer. Unknown to both of them, Victoria had ordered the estate's technician to block Sophia's number from Alexander's phone account, claiming it had been compromised. Alexander left a voicemail. "Sophia, I need you to call me. I don't care what time it is, just call me." Sophia never received it. The next morning, Victoria entered Sophia's bedroom with 2 security guards. "Alexander knows everything." Sophia stood slowly. "Knows what?" "About Daniel, about the child." Sophia's face went pale. "There is nothing to know." Victoria handed her a printed email supposedly written by Alexander. "I cannot speak to her. Handle it before I return. I want her gone." Sophia read the words again and again. They didn't sound like Alexander, but the email address was his. The signature was his. The pain in her chest made it difficult to breathe. "Let me call him." "He refuses to speak to you." "I don't believe that." Victoria's voice sharpened. "You humiliated him. Do you expect him to beg for an explanation?" Sophia grabbed her phone. Every call failed. She tried his assistant. No response. She tried the hotel. The receptionist said Alexander had requested not to receive personal calls. Another lie carefully placed by Victoria. Sophia packed one suitcase while the guards waited outside her door. She left the baby shoes on Alexander's desk. Then Victoria picked up the box and dropped it into a drawer before anyone could see it. The night Sophia lost everything. At the gate, Sophia refused to leave until she could speak to Alexander. Victoria stood beneath an umbrella while rain soaked Sophia's clothes. "You can remain here all night," Victoria said. "It won't change his decision." Sophia gripped the gate. "He promised me." Men promise many things before they understand their mistakes. "He loves me." Victoria stepped closer. "Then why hasn't he called?" That question followed Sophia for the next 4 years. Daniel found her at a bus station near dawn. She was shivering, exhausted, and still trying to contact Alexander. Daniel took her to his sister's small apartment. For weeks, Sophia waited for Alexander to come. She wrote letters to him, one every few days. She explained everything: the pregnancy, Daniel's visit, the photographs, Victoria's accusations, her fear, her love. She sent the letters to Alexander's office, the mansion, and the company's legal department. Victoria intercepted everyone. When Alexander returned from the Geneva, Sophia was gone. His mother told him she had left willingly. "She admitted the child was Daniel's," Victoria said. Alexander's face was hollow. "I want to hear it from her." "She doesn't want to see you." "Where is she?" "I don't know." That was partly true. Victoria had paid Daniel's landlord to disclose the address where Sophia was staying. She knew exactly where Sophia was, but Alexander did not. He went to the old bookshop. It was closed. Sophia's father had died months before the wedding, and the building had recently been sold. He searched for Daniel. Daniel had taken a construction job in another city, hoping to earn enough money to help Sophia. Each trail ended before Alexander reached it. Victoria made sure of that. Sophia's first year alone. Sophia gave birth to Emma during a thunderstorm. The labor lasted 16 hours. Daniel's sister, Rebecca, stayed beside her while Sophia squeezed her hand and tried not to cry for Alexander. When the nurse placed the baby against her chest, Sophia stared at the tiny face. Emma had Alexander's dark hair, his serious expression, and the small dimple that appeared only when she yawned. Sophia began to sob. Rebecca thought she was overwhelmed with happiness. She was, but she was also grieving the man who should have been there. "What will you name her?" the nurse asked Emma Rose Whitmore. Rebecca looked at Sophia. "Are you sure about the last name?" Sophia kissed her daughter's forehead. "He is still her father, even if he doesn't want to be." Sophia had very little money. She rented a single room above a laundromat and worked evenings proofreading catalogs for a printing company. Emma slept in a second-hand crib beside the bed. Some nights the heating stopped. Sophia would wrap Emma in layers of blankets and hold her against her chest until morning. When Emma was 6 months old, she developed a fever. Sophia took her to the emergency room and sat awake for 12 hours while doctors ran tests. The fever was caused by an infection that could be treated easily, but Sophia had never felt such terror. As Emma slept in the hospital cot, Sophia whispered, "Your father would know what to do." Then she corrected herself, "And no, we know what to do. We'll learn together." She became both softness and strength. She learned how to stretch groceries for a week, how to work with Emma sleeping against her shoulder, how to smile when people asked about her husband, and how to hide her tears until her daughter was asleep. Emma first asked about her father when she was 2. They were sitting on the floor, looking through an old picture book. One page showed the father carrying his daughter on his shoulders. Emma tapped the picture. "We're mine." Sophia's heart tightened. "Where is your daddy?" Emma nodded. Sophia had prepared for the question, but no prepared answer felt right. "He lives far away." "Why?" "Because sometimes grown-ups get lost from each other." Emma considered this. "Can we find him?" Sophia forced a smile. "Maybe one day." At 3, Emma asked again after attending a birthday party, where another girl's father lifted her to blow out the candles. On the walk home, Emma held Sophia's hand. "Did my daddy know I was born?" Sophia stopped walking. Cars passed beside them. People moved around them. But for Sophia, the entire street became silent. "I tried to tell him," she said. Emma looked up. "Did he not hear?" Sophia knelt and fixed the child's scarf. "No, sweetheart, I don't think he did." "Would he like me?" Sophia's eyes filled. "He would love you." She hoped it was true. When Emma turned 4, she drew a family picture at preschool. There was Sophia, there was Emma. And beside them was a tall man with dark hair and unusually long arms. Sophia found the picture inside Emma's backpack. "Who is this?" "My daddy." "You've never seen him." Emma shrugged. "I made him how I think." Sophia traced the crayon face with one finger. "What do you think he's like?" Emma smiled. "He finds people." Sophia turned away before her daughter saw her cry. Alexander did not stop searching. For the first 6 months, his search was frantic. He hired investigators, checked hospitals, contacted old friends, visited Daniel's former workplaces, but Victoria had anticipated many of his moves. She told investigators Sophia had left the country. She provided false travel records. She claimed Sophia and Daniel had taken money from the family. Every lie led Alexander farther away. Eventually, Sophia's letters stopped arriving, not because she had stopped writing, but because Victoria's secretary had been instructed to destroy them. Alexander became colder. He worked longer hours. He moved out of the East Wing and into a city apartment. The house where he and Sophia had lived remained untouched. He couldn't enter their bedroom. He told himself he hated her. But hatred did not explain why he kept her scarf in his desk. It did not explain why he still visited the library on Thursdays. And it did not explain why he never filed for divorce. Victoria urged him repeatedly. You need closure. I need the truth. She betrayed you. Then why did she leave without taking anything? Victoria's face remained composed. Guilt. Alexander watched her closely. Sophia had left her jewelry, her books, her father's silver ring. Everything she valued was still in the room. Only a guilty woman might run, but a frightened woman might run too. That possibility never left him. 4 years after Sophia disappeared, Alexander's longtime housekeeper, Mrs. Turner, prepared to retire. Before leaving, she asked to speak with him privately. Her hand shook as she placed a small white box on his desk. I should have given you this years ago. Alexander opened it. Inside were tiny baby shoes. His face went still. Where did you get these? They were in the drawer in your old office. Mrs. Whitmore told me to throw them away, but I couldn't. Alexander lifted one shoe carefully. A folded note was tucked beneath it. Come home soon. Someone very small is waiting to meet you. Alexander stopped breathing. When was this written? The night before Mrs. Sophia was forced to leave. Forced? Mrs. Turner began to cry. Your mother said you ordered it. Mrs. Sophia begged to call you. She stood in the rain for nearly an hour. Alexander rose so quickly that his chair struck the wall. My mother told me Sophia admitted the child belonged to Daniel. She never admitted anything. Why didn't you tell me? I was afraid. Your mother threatened every member of staff. She said we would lose our jobs and our homes. Alexander picked up the note again. The handwriting was Sophia's. The paper shook in his hands. For 4 years, he had believed she left because she didn't love him. Now, for the first time, he understood she might have been waiting for him to save her. Alexander hired an independent forensic investigator named Marcus Hale. He told no one, not even Claire. They began with Alexander's old phone records. The account showed that Sophia's number had been blocked during the Geneva trip through an administrative request made from Victoria's office. Then they examined the email ordering Sophia's removal. The message had been sent from Alexander's account, but not from Geneva. It had been sent from an IP address inside the Whitmore estate. Next came the photographs of Sophia and Daniel. Marcus located the photographer. At first, the man denied everything. Then Alexander placed a check on the table and said, This is what I'll pay for the truth. If you lie again, my lawyers will make sure you never work in this industry. The photographer confessed. Victoria had paid him. She had told him where to stand. She had selected the images. She had even instructed him to make the embrace appear romantic. Each discovery gave Alexander hope, and each one destroyed him. He had not abandoned Sophia intentionally, but he had believed the worst of her. He had allowed 4 years to pass. He remembered every cruel thought he had directed at her. Every night he had told himself she was a liar. Every moment their child had lived without him. Marcus eventually found Daniel. He was working as a site manager in another state. Alexander traveled there immediately. Daniel punched him before Alexander could speak, and the blow knocked him against a parked truck. You have no right to come here, Daniel said. Alexander wiped blood from his lip. I deserve that. You deserve worse. Where is Sophia? Daniel laughed bitterly. You suddenly care? I never stopped. You never came. I couldn't find her. She wrote to you for 2 years. Alexander froze. How many letters? Dozens. She wrote when Emma was born. She sent photographs. She told you when the baby took her first step. Alexander's voice weakened. Emma, your daughter. The words struck harder than Daniel's fist. Alexander gripped the truck for support. Where are they? Daniel hesitated. Sophia made me promise. Please. Alexander looked at him with tears in his eyes. I have already lost 4 years. Don't make Emma lose another day because of what my mother did. Daniel studied his face, then he gave Alexander the address. Before going to Sophia, Alexander returned to the mansion. He confronted Victoria in her study. Where are the letters? Victoria didn't pretend not to understand. Her expression hardened. I protected you. Where are they? She was not right for you. Alexander swept a crystal vase from the desk. It shattered against the floor. For 4 years, my daughter grew up without me. Victoria flinched. You don't know that the child is yours. I do. You're being emotional. I asked you where the letters are. Victoria finally pointed toward a locked cabinet behind the shelves. Inside, Alexander found bundles tied with string. Some had been opened, others had never been touched. All were addressed to him. He carried them to the bedroom he once shared with Sophia. Then he sat on the floor and opened the first one. Alexander, I don't understand what happened. Your mother says you believe my child belongs to Daniel. It doesn't. This baby is yours. Please ask me anything. I will answer every question. Just don't decide our whole life without looking into my eyes. The second letter was dated 3 weeks later. I felt the baby move today. It was small, like the flutter of a bird. I wish you had been here. I placed my hand over the place and imagined yours beside it. Another letter contained a hospital photograph. She is here. Her name is Emma Rose. She has your hair and your stubborn little frown. I told her about you. I said her father once borrowed the same library book 4 times because he was afraid to ask her mother to dinner. Alexander pressed the photograph against his chest. He continued reading. Emma smiled today. Emma said, Mama. Emma is afraid of thunder. Emma likes strawberries but hates peas. Emma asked where you are. Some letters were hopeful, others were angry. One said, I don't know whether you are ignoring these letters or whether someone is keeping them from you. I have to believe the second possibility because the man I'm married would never punish a child for something her mother supposedly did. The final letter had been written nearly 2 years earlier. I cannot keep teaching Emma to wait for someone who may never come. I will not write again. But if you ever learn the truth, do not arrive expecting forgiveness. Arrive ready to earn it. Alexander read every letter before sunrise. Then he drove to Sophia's apartment. Sophia was leaving for work when she saw him standing across the street. For a moment, she thought her mind had created him. Alexander looked older. There was exhaustion around his eyes and silver beginning near his temples, but he was still the man she had waited for every night during the first year of Emma's life. Sophia stopped moving. Alexander crossed the road slowly. I found the letters. Sophia's face emptied of emotion. All of them. Yes. 4 years late. I know. No, you don't. Her voice trembled. You don't know what 1 week felt like, or 1 month. You don't know what it was like to give birth while wondering whether you hated me. I never hated you. You believed I betrayed you. Alexander lowered his eyes. Yes? Sophia laughed once, and there was no humor in it. You knew me better than anyone. I should have trusted you. You should have come. I tried to find you. Not hard enough. The words landed between them. Alexander didn't defend himself. You're right. That answer unsettled Sophia more than an argument would have. Behind her, the apartment door opened. Emma stepped outside wearing a yellow coat and carrying a small backpack. Mama, you forgot my... She stopped when she saw Alexander. Sophia turned immediately. Emma, go inside. But Emma kept staring at him. Alexander could not speak. She had Sophia's eyes, his hair, his dimple. The same serious expression he had seen in childhood photographs of himself. Emma looked at Sophia. Is that him? Sophia closed her eyes. Alexander's face crumpled. Emma walked toward him carefully. Are you my daddy? He knelt, but he did not touch her. I think I am. You think? His voice broke. I know I am. I just don't know if I'm allowed to say it yet. Emma studied him. Did you get lost? Alexander looked at Sophia, then back at his daughter. Yes. Emma pointed toward the apartment. We have a map. Sophia turned away as tears filled her eyes. Alexander did not immediately become part of their lives. Sophia allowed short meetings in public places, a park, a cafe, the children's section of the library. Alexander never arrived late. He never brought expensive gifts after Sophia warned him not to confuse love with money. Instead, he brought books. He listened when Emma talked. He learned that she cut sandwiches into circles, hated loud hand dryers, and believed the moon followed their car at night. But Sophia remained guarded. She spoke to Alexander only when necessary. Every time she looked at him, she remembered the rain. Then Emma became ill. It began with tiredness. She stopped finishing meals. She bruised easily. One afternoon at preschool, she fainted. Sophia rushed her to the hospital. Tests revealed a serious blood disorder requiring immediate treatment and possibly a bone marrow transplant. Sophia sat beside Emma's bed, holding her tiny hand. The doctor explained that close biological relatives offered the best chance of finding a match. Sophia called Alexander. It was the first time she had ever called him willingly. He arrived within 20 minutes. His tie was loose. His face was pale. What happened? Sophia tried to speak, but her voice failed. Alexander knelt beside her. She whispered, "They need to test us." He took her hand without thinking. For a second, Sophia let him. Then Emma stirred. Alexander moved to the bed. "Hey, explorer." Emma opened her eyes. "Daddy." It was the first time she had called him that. Alexander swallowed hard. "I'm here." "Are you leaving?" "No." "Promise?" Sophia looked at him. Alexander placed his hand gently over Emma's. "I promise." He was tested immediately. He was a match. The procedure would not be easy, but Alexander agreed before the doctor finished explaining the risks. During the days leading to surgery, he barely left the hospital. He slept in chairs, read Emma stories, learned how to braid her hair badly enough to make her laugh. Sophia watched him from across the room. She wanted to remain angry, but she saw the fear he tried to hide. She saw him whisper to Emma when he thought she was asleep, "I'm sorry I missed so much. I'm sorry you ever had to wonder whether I wanted you." On the morning of the procedure, Emma became frightened. "What if it hurts?" Alexander sat beside her. "It might hurt a little." "Will it hurt you too?" "Yes." Emma frowned. "Then don't do it." He smiled through tears. "I have 4 years of hugs to make up for. I need you healthy enough to collect them." Emma thought carefully. How many hugs? "At least 1 million. That's too many. Then 900,000. She held out her little finger. "Deal." The procedure was successful, but recovery was slow. For several nights, Emma's fever rose. Sophia and Alexander sat on opposite sides of the bed, barely speaking. At 3 in the morning, Sophia woke and found Alexander standing near the window, crying silently. She had never seen him cry before, not even at her father's funeral. She walked toward him. "She's going to be okay," she said. Alexander wiped his face. "What if she isn't?" "She will be. I missed her first 4 years." "You didn't know." "I should have known." Sophia's expression hardened. "Yes, you should have." He nodded. "I know." She expected him to argue. Instead, he said, "I am not asking you to erase what happened. I'm asking for the chance to spend the rest of my life proving that I understand what it cost you." Sophia looked toward Emma. "I don't know if I can trust you again." "Then don't, not yet." He stepped back. "Watch what I do. Take as long as you need." Emma returned home 6 weeks later. Alexander rented an apartment nearby instead of asking Sophia to move. He attended every follow-up appointment. He handled school pickups when Sophia worked late. He learned to cook 3 meals Emma liked and several she politely pretended to like. He never entered Sophia's home without permission. He never asked Emma to keep secrets. And he never spoke badly about Victoria in front of her. Victoria had been removed from the company board after Alexander presented proof of the fraud, intercepted communications, and forged emails. He also sold the family mansion. When Claire asked why, he said, "Too many people were hurt inside that house." Victoria tried to apologize. She claimed she had acted out of love. Alexander refused to accept it. Love does not destroy someone's life to keep control of another person. Sophia heard about Victoria's removal, but felt no satisfaction. Nothing could return the years she had lost. The first real change between Sophia and Alexander came on Emma's 5th birthday. They held a party in the library where Alexander and Sophia had met. After the guests left, Emma fell asleep in a chair with frosting on her cheek. Sophia and Alexander cleaned the room together. Alexander found an old copy of Jane Eyre on the return cart. He smiled faintly. "This book caused a lot of trouble." Sophia looked at him. "You caused the trouble. The book was innocent." He laughed. It was the first time they had laughed together in years. The sound faded, leaving a softer silence. Alexander reached into his coat and placed Sophia's silver ring on the table. She stared at it. I found it in our old bedroom, he said. I thought you might want it back. Sophia picked it up. My father gave me this. I know. She slid it onto her finger. It still fit. Alexander did not mention their marriage. He did not ask for another chance. That restraint mattered more than any speech could have. Months passed. Sophia began inviting him inside for dinner. Then they started talking after Emma went to sleep. At first, they discussed practical things: school, medical appointments, work. Slowly, they began discussing the past. Alexander told her every step of the investigation. Sophia told him about the night at the gate, about giving birth alone, about Emma's first fever, about every question their daughter had asked. Alexander listened without interrupting. Sometimes he cried. Sometimes Sophia became angry and left the room. He always returned the next day. One evening, Sophia asked the question she had carried for years. Why did you believe the photographs? Alexander took a long breath. Because part of me was afraid you would eventually realize you deserved a simpler life than mine. When I saw Daniel with you, it confirmed the fear I already had. You believed your fear more than you believed me. Yes. And if your mother hadn't lied, I still failed you. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. That's what I needed you to understand. He nodded. I do. A year after Emma's recovery, Alexander took Sophia and Emma to the rooftop above the old bookshop. He had quietly purchased the building and restored it as a community reading center. The same string lights hung above them. The same city sounds drifted through the night. Emma ran between the tables, looking at children's books. Sophia turned to Alexander. You rebuilt it. I wanted Emma to see where we met and where you pretended to enjoy history books. I was very convincing. You renewed the same book 3 times. 4. Sophia smiled. Alexander reached into his pocket. Her smile disappeared. He did not kneel. He held the ring in his open palm but kept at a respectful distance. I'm not asking you to forget. Sophia looked at the ring. I'm not asking you to become the woman you were before, because she should never have had to survive what happened. His voice shook. I love the woman you are now. I love your strength, even when that strength keeps me at a distance. I love the mother you became when you had every reason to break, and I love the life we are slowly building. Sophia's tears fell silently. Alexander continued. I was your husband when I should have been your protector, your partner, and your closest friend. I failed at all the 3. I cannot change the beginning of Emma's life, but I can choose how I live every day that comes next. Emma appeared beside them. Is this the marrying part? Sophia laughed through her tears. Alexander looked embarrassed. You were supposed to keep reading. I finished. Emma turned to Sophia. You should say yes. He makes good pancakes now. Only because you taught me, Alexander said. Sophia looked at the ring again. For years, she had believed forgiveness meant pretending the pain no longer mattered. Now she understood something different. Forgiveness did not erase the wound. It simply stopped the wound from controlling the future. She held out her hand. This is not the old marriage. Alexander carefully slid the ring onto her finger. No. This is something new. Something honest. And if you ever disappear for 4 years again, Emma interrupted, we'll use the map. Alexander laughed and pulled them both into his arms. This time, Sophia did not step away. Sophia and Alexander remarried in the reading center 6 months later. There were no society photographers, no corporate guests, no mansion. Emma walked between them, holding both their hands. Danielle attended with Rebecca. Mrs. Turner sat in the front row. Claire read a poem. Before the ceremony, Alexander handed Sophia a wooden box containing every letter she had written. He had preserved them carefully. I read one every week, he told her. Why? To remember the life you lived when I wasn't there. I never want your pain to become an abstract thing I claim to understand. Sophia touched the first envelope. You can't spend the rest of your life punishing yourself. I know. Emma doesn't need a guilty father. What does she need? A present one. Alexander looked across the room at their daughter, who was directing the floors with great seriousness. That I can be. They moved into a modest house with a garden. Alexander continued running the company, but he stopped allowing it to consume his life. Sophia managed the reading center and created a support program for single mothers completing their education. Emma recovered fully. She grew stronger, louder, and more curious. Sometimes she asked about the years before Alexander found them. Sophia and Alexander answered honestly, without turning the truth into a weapon. They told her that people could love each other and still make devastating mistakes. They told her that families were not repaired by promises alone. They were repaired by truth, patience, and the decision to keep showing up. One rainy evening, Emma stood by the living room window and watched the storm. Were you scared of rain before? She asked Sophia. Sophia knew what she meant. Yes. Are you still? Sophia looked toward the kitchen. Alexander was attempting to make dinner while smoke rose from a pan. He noticed them watching and lifted the burned wooden spoon helplessly. Sophia smiled. Not anymore. Emma leaned against her. Because Daddy found us? Sophia wrapped an arm around her daughter. No. She watched Alexander hurry to open a window. Because we found our way home. And this time, home was not an estate protected by iron gates. It was not wealth, status, or a powerful family name. Home was the place where the truth was allowed to live. It was the place where apologies were followed by action, where a frightened little girl no longer had to imagine her father's face, where a wounded woman did not have to forget her suffering in order to be loved, and where a man who had lost 4 precious years understood that every ordinary day was now a gift. Alexander had once promised Sophia he would come home to her for the rest of his life. He had broken that promise, but in the years that followed, he made it again every morning, not with words, with breakfast at the table, with school pickups, with hospital appointments, with late night conversations, with honesty when the truth was painful, and with a million small moments that finally became the life they should have shared all along.